topic.
Yes, we need to talk about
We're going to talk about that for a solid hour.
that.
We can just run film, break down the
I don't
matches.
think we should talk about it because we're not supposed to cuss.
Redirecting to YouTube.
And I'd probably end up making fun of kids,
We're
but it is fun.
All right, we're
It's
live.
relaxing.
Okay.
live.
Let me just mute this link or mute that and post the link.
Did you drink your diet cherry cola yet, good body?
Had it yesterday.
That a boy.
It was remarkable.
Dance with me. Wanna be your partner, can't you see? Are we live? Hold on, I should probably shut up.
We're live.
Yeah.
Oh man, people will see that. I'm a little punchy, good body. I spent way too much time with you today.
All right. So we
The
are
Bruins were there, by the way.
live.
Yeah, I know.
Mr. and Mrs. They were. She sent a message to me that we left too fast. I'll have to send it back soon.
Are we ready?
All right.
Okay. Here we go. Music.
You can't hear it.
You can or cannot?
Now I can hear it.
Okay, yeah.
Tonight's main event: Jimmy Superfly Snuka versus Andre the Giant.
Welcome, everybody, to another wonderful episode of Talkin Wrestling. I am Greco Moses Preevish here, along with Mike Foss and John Goodbody. This is episode 3 of Talkin Wrestling, our 5th season. And that in the background is Gemini Dream from the Moody Blues. And, you know, the funny thing about that song is that it was used as the opener for the old championship wrestling television show, like an early WWF show in the early 1980s.
Why did that pop in your head the other day?
I don't know. Oh, I was driving and a different song was playing on the radio that was used in a Penn State football commercial around the same time. And then it just like, I don't know how I went from that to
Preevish, where are you on the Moody Blues?
I like the Moody Blues. They're
Good band.
Yeah, they're
Didn't they do Wildest Dreams?
probably.
That was one of their later hits.
I had no clue who sang that song, yet alone who the group is.
The Moody Blues, they're pretty good.
For those few people that are out there
From the
watching,
70s, I think.
we are live. You can talk with us on the chat on the YouTube page. We got a lot of stuff to go over tonight. And part of that will be the quarterfinals, gentlemen, of our Ultimate Wrestling theme song tournament. We've got some big matchups, and with some viewer input, this could be an interesting tournament. And in the background, I am getting text messages, which I am trying to.
Is that you?
This just in: Lunatic Fringe does not make weight.
Had to wear it in a singlet, coach. New rule.
Oh, that's a good thing. Let's get into that. We were going to talk about weight classes. That's a good thing to kind of.
I want to speak on the weight classes because I'm very happy they did not change that, and I'm very proponent of keeping the weight classes and keeping as many people involved in wrestling as possible. I think when you start limiting opportunities, that's when you're going to start losing interest.
I agree.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm glad that they didn't cut any weight classes, especially down below, because we had a 90-pound, 106-pounder last year. It's I'm glad that they decided not to change anything. So let's hope that we can increase our numbers. Really, gotta get the message.
It's the lazy way. I think
Yeah.
it really is lazy. I think it's just passing it off and knowing your expectations instead of going out and promoting the sport.
Well, I could see like from a dual meet standpoint, because if there are ties, one of the first criteria is number of matches won, and if it's split 7-7, I could see eliminating one weight class, to make it so that criteria doesn't come into play. That it's you win 7-6.
Yeah.
Getting an odd number, I like. I just don't like eliminating.
If you could add one weight class, where would you put it? Like in the current weights that we have right now.
Wow.
I've been trying to think about this, and it's tough because I used to like the old format, obviously, where it was like, 130, 135, 140, 145, because I felt like you got like a little extra like middleweight in there, because we've had some lineups in the past. Like if we had those old weight systems, we could have been really, really, really solid. Because we had a guy who was like a backup at one of those weights, like from like 25 to 45, that we could have really moved some things around. But I feel like obviously in the current weight system, where would you put an additional weight if you can make it to get it to 15?
Gosh, there's maybe.
I've read some things, people saying like 235 to get another big guy in the lineup.
No.
But is that the
Yeah,
best
because
option?
that's the weak. That's where you're like you don't have a lot of depth there.
Yeah.
I think somewhere you somewhere break up 52, 60, and 70 and put another one in there.
Okay.
I could see maybe figuring out a way to, maybe drop the lowest weight class from 106 back to like 103, and then maybe putting in like a 108 or 109 in there, so you have a few more little guys, because we have like ridiculous amount of little guys.
I think it varies so like to every like program that has a little bit of depth. Not every program has depth, and both our programs are pretty like blessed to have that opportunity and option. But you see that it varies. Like you guys had a lot of depth at like 106, 113. We didn't really have as much there. I mean, we had some guys, don't get us wrong, but we didn't have as much. Even in at heavyweight this year, we didn't have as much wiggle room at heavyweight.
Right.
My critique of when they changed the weight classes is they took one middleweight out and added it to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you still have depth in that. I think those middle weights are where you have the most depth.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's where I would add. But I could see Priebish's point, him being a little fella back in the day.
Well, no,
He's just a little fella.
Yeah. No, really, it's just honestly, it's coming from having like, when Joey Prado was a freshman, he barely weighed 100 pounds and was a 106 pounder. Will Kelly, when he was an 8th and a 9th grader, was small. So for them it was difficult. And for Jack Parker, our 106 pounder this past year, kid can straight up wrestle, but he was 94 pounds wrestling guys that were cutting from probably 120 down to 106, and that's just, and he's just a young freshman too. He's a first year cadet, and I don't want to talk about fairness. I mean, and the weight was the weight, but if we have like a lighter weight class in there, maybe those first 106 and 113, if we adjust those a little bit and add a third weight in there, maybe 103, 108, 109, and then maybe 115. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, at least they didn't freaking, really screw things up even more. I mean, other than the fact that, now next year, everybody's going to have to weigh in a singlet, which is.
Yeah, Voss and I were chatting about that because when I read the lingo,
right.
I read it on like Intermat earlier. It sounded like, to be honest with you, like that was a rule for the women. But then Voss and I were chatting about it, but it's across the board now. So that definitely is an adjustment.
Yeah. Well, and I was telling Foss before we went live that, every international tournament, and like well, actually, in freestyle and Greco, everybody weighs in a singlet.
Yeah.
And it has to be a competition singlet. And high school singlets just they're heavy.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to train your kids that if their weight's really close, that they don't wear an undergarment underneath their singlet.
Yeah.
It's going to take a little bit of adjustment. I get why they're doing it. That way we don't have to run and find a female to help
Yeah.
girls.
That never has been a problem though. It's just the timing of the weight.
Yeah.
Somebody, a female weighing in.
It's not a big deal. We've had it in the past, and our athletic trainer is female, and
Yeah, that's what we do.
not a problem. It's never been a problem. But now we just straight up weigh everybody in a singlet, and I think coaches are going to have to make sure that, I mean, if we're adopting this, you need to pull the singlet straps up when you get on the scale. It can't be down. International, if you try to weigh in with your straps down, they kick you out. So not a pleasant experience. They get yelled at in a foreign language about your singlet straps.
Changes the days where you used to weigh in without your any clothes on, weighing on the meat scales.
Well,
like Loudon Swain.
The funny thing is that somebody posted a comment on Facebook about how this guy weighed in naked or whatever, and just to mess with people. And I commented that back in the day, international, like when I was competing internationally, that everybody weighed in naked. Like you go into the weigh-in room and clothes come off, so you're standing there naked in this small room with 200 foreign people that a lot of them don't have the same kind of hygienic standards that Americans do. It smells horrible. When you get on the scale, you can't look at the scale. You have to have your back face to the scale, so you're facing the crowd, completely butt naked. It was quite an experience, and plus standing in line waiting till your weight class to be called in a small room with a bunch of naked people right up on you.
And that was where the great statue Prebish was created.
Available to see in Florence, Italy.
Jesus. It was definitely not very pleasant. But it's just something that we did, So at least they didn't screw up too much. Now you did see that they made that change to the fourth stall call, that wherever it occurs, they stop the match and award the point, instead of if the top guy's stalling, what was it, the bottom guy stalling, they don't stop it, or neutral, they don't stop it. The little things that, whoa, good body.
What are you doing, good body?
I'm trying to brighten myself up, buddy. Brightening myself up, brighten your day.
There's no brightening in me. No.
On a side note, Prebish, I got to see Good Body's new house. It's lovely. It's in a lovely neighborhood.
Is this on South Side?
Oh yeah.
Where South Side?
Off. I don't want to tell everyone where I'm living, people. Near Courthouse and Lux Lane.
Okay. So near Midlothian High School.
Yeah, not too far away.
Closer to Monacan.
Monacan.
So not too far from where my fiance used to live. So
you lived in Lux Lane?
Yeah.
Wow. I dated a girl way back, when I was living in Fredericksburg, that lived on Lux Lane.
Oh.
Wow.
That was a commute there, Prebish.
Well, when
you old sailor, you.
He's sandbagging son of a gun.
In one of my previous relationships that started at the tail end of Fredericksburg and into Richmond, she was living in Charlottesville, so I was doing that commute from Fredericksburg at least once during the week and then on the weekends. So to go right from wrestling practice at 5:30, to Charlottesville. Thank God 208's there. You can cut across Lake Anna, and there aren't any cops there. So
Prebish, we could probably do a couple of episodes just on your exes alone. That would be a fun episode.
Have you ever seen the movie Good Luck Chuck?
Yeah.
Okay,
I am Good Luck Chuck. I am. If we and I sat down and thought about it, from even like when I got divorced, the very next person that she met, she got married. And if we go back through like the very significant relationships from that point forward, yeah, good luck, Chuck here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's why I've been a hermit.
always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
No,
Yes.
no, no. Always the guy that winds up. Yeah. Anyway, so let's get back to wrestling,
And
guys.
there we go. Back to wrestling.
And back to wrestling. Here we go. Back to
What's the next topic on the docket?
well, we could talk about. Well, since we were talking about rule changes, let's talk about the VHSL in girls wrestling. Or
Needs
the
to happen.
or
I keep seeing these things like other state organizations are sanctioning it. You're seeing states like New Jersey, Pennsylvania, I think
Pennsylvania,
Arizona.
not yet Pennsylvania.
Oh, I know they're working on it though.
They're. I think the PIA is fighting it.
Yeah. I know Arizona, I think, just passed theirs.
Yeah.
There was another state recently that's passed. God, I'm going blank. But I mean, it's a growing sport. Why not offer it?
Well, I think this. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Preetish.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think the VHSL has got to come up. You got to really plan this out, especially the VHSL. I'm trying to be,
Politically correct.
yes. The VHSL needs to have a plan, a good plan. I think the other problem is you got to think about when are you going to do it. You're already having problems getting wrestling coaches.
Right.
So would you have it during the wrestling season, or would you have it during maybe a spring or a fall, which then would take away from any off season you do?
Yeah.
So it's a really, freestyle versus folk style. That's the other thing you got to ask. You got to figure to do freestyle, but then your referees association has to kind of redo their organization because
There's a lot of moving parts.
That's the part. I think it should happen, but getting it done like it's girls wrestling, let's have it. Yeah, but it takes planning. It takes how are you going to do it?
Well, the Virginia Wrestling Association has done a really exceptional job of going through that process with our women's director and the other women's coaches that support it. They've been working on this for a number of years, addressing every little issue that you're talking about. Not just saying like, look, we have the women, we have the numbers. Why can't we have this? They have all the plan. And it's coming down to we need the principals that are on the different board, at the VHSL to stand up and say, look, this is something. It's an emerging collegiate sport. It's an Olympic sport. We have the numbers. They have the organization going already. It's really not that much of a stretch. Considering
what season would they suggest having it in?
It would run concurrently with the boys. That's
Okay.
usually what you see nationwide is that it runs concurrently. And what I would do is like, not every single high school that has girls will be able to, well, not every high school would be able to have separate coaching staffs. I mean, ideally in the long run, that should be the goal. But in the interim, you guys wrestle your dual meets during the week on what day? Like Wednesdays?
Tuesdays or Thursdays.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, use one of those days as dual meets for your girls teams, or you have tournaments on the weekends for your girls team having, a set amount of events. And hopefully, either coaches will step up or, maybe the VHSL needs to allow parents to take a coaching course, maybe become bronze certified USA coaches so that they would be able to coach the VHSL girls season, because really, I mean, you guys are public school coaches. Have you had to take any kind of coaching test to be able to coach VHSL?
Yes,
We have to
not a
do-
test, but you have to do like an information video and stuff like that to get.
Yeah, you do a bunch of like different like certification videos and obviously your concussion stuff.
Sure.
But then you have other like stuff about like obviously the kind of like stuff you would take as a teacher, like your sexual harassment, your like those type of courses. To be honest with you, it reminds me similar of like what is it, Safe Sport? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
USA Wrestling has this too.
Yeah.
It reminds me very similar to the courses that we've done with that in the past, but it's not necessarily set up in that manner, and
Right.
not as like I don't think we do them daily, or yearly. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yearly or bi-yearly or every
Yeah.
other year.
How much is there a demand previous in the private school, like at St. Gertrude's or
There's
St. Catherine's
very
for
few
female
Yeah,
wrestling?
very few wrestlers, very few girls. I mean, other than having Lauren Prada a few years ago,
Mm-hmm.
really haven't had that many. I think there were a couple girls that wrestled.
Collegiate, I know has a couple.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I mean, National Preps had a girls division this year. They had 2 girls there.
That was awesome.
Yeah, and it's only going to grow. So you would think that the VHSL would want to move forward on it.
Here's the problem from principals and athletic directors. You run at the same time, and we would run into this, Coach Goodbody. You run it at the same time as the boys. You have one wrestling room. Now that maybe fits. Even if first you have a wrestling room that maybe fits X amount of kids. Now you double that, or maybe add 1/3 to that. Or you're a school that doesn't have a wrestling room, struggles to use an aux gym where you're rolling up. Now you're adding to that. I think that's a big. And then we're both blessed with a big coaching staff.
Yeah.
What about the coaches' staffs that don't have that blessing? Now you're splitting more.
Yeah.
I think those are major issues that the athletic directors and me as a coach looking at it, that's how I see it. It's like, wow, how we already struggle to find space for a middle school team, high school, so that's what I would run into.
Yeah, you have to take the logistics and sit down with your athletic staff and figure out the logistics of it. If you have to have early practice, late practice, then that's what you do. And, you work with your coaching staff. And if you don't have that coaching staff, work on getting some volunteers in there, provided they do all the stuff for their county or their city, and you build your coaching staff that way. And it just takes organization. It takes like a day to sit down with everybody and say, okay, this is what we need to do. This is how we're going to do it. The very best programs, are ones that can delegate to different people. And if they have volunteers helping out, great. It can be done. It's just,
I think you'd have, if you were able to make it a VHL sport, the finding coaches, you don't need to have volunteers anymore. If you make that you have a head men's wrestling, paid staff, and then you have a head women's wrestling and an assistant women's wrestling. So I think finding volunteers is finding people qualified to do it as well.
Yeah. I mean, think about the high schools in Virginia that have guys that are people that are their high school coaches, and they're not the most qualified individuals.
Yeah. Like people that never wrestled before?
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Joe Cesare at North Schuylkill in PA, built a dynasty in the 80s, never wrestled. His kids wrestled, and there are plenty of coaches in the past, that have been very, very successful that didn't know how to wrestle. They knew how to organize, they knew how to get the people in place. I'm talking that there are guys that know wrestling but shouldn't be coaching.
Yeah, I got you.
You know what I mean?
I think
I knew what you were saying.
I think it's definitely possible, especially if you build on it. Like if it's sanctioned and like a couple programs buy into it, and then you kind of build from there.
Sure.
I know at New Kent, I think if you had it at the right time, I think there would be a lot of girls. When you say, hey, you no longer have to practice or wrestle boys, I think we'd get a good turnout.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Absolutely.
I think we'd get a good turnout.
Richmond Wrestling Club, we have like 6 or 7 girls that come in and work out with us.
That's awesome.
The nice thing about the winter is you're only competing now with 2 sports.
Yep.
Track, winter track, and girls basketball. Where if you do it in the fall, you got field hockey and volleyball, and
cross country.
And cross country, and then you have track you have softball, some places
Soccer.
lacrosse,
And
soccer. So
yeah,
that's one advantage
sure.
to having it in the winter.
Absolutely. So, I
So
mean,
I can't wait till it happens. It's definitely gonna be a process.
yeah, and it's really it's the quality of wrestling is getting better. These girls work their butts off. They deserve to have a sanctioned high school state championship. I mean, we have esports. VHSL has an esports state champion. So it's something that we've
where the
got.
money is, unfortunately.
I know. It reminds me of an episode of King of the Hill where Bobby was not doing well in regular PE, so they put him in virtual PE and he played games.
I'm not a huge gamer. Before we get back on topic, I'm not a huge gamer.
I'm not.
But looking back, if you could choose one game that you feel like you could have success on a competitive level, what would it be?
Tecmo Bowl.
Well,
Tecmo Bowl?
I played like I had some PC games, so I would say like FIFA soccer or FIFA, or they had EA Sports had a rugby game, and I mean I would kick people's butts on that. Of course, like the thing with the PC games is like you can I think you could probably do it on console games is that you can create a team. So I would create a team of like the tallest, biggest individuals ever, like with the highest skill levels, and we just rip everybody out.
Blades of Steel, man. Blades of Steel.
You're big on Blades of Steel.
Was not the best, but I'd give it hell. All right, what's next, Preebs?
Well, really, I mean, continued delay of events. Yes, we know we're in a holding pattern. That sucks. Really not much we can talk about until, we figure out when we're going to start to repopulate the world with our presence. Let's talk about weight cutting, because that was one of the things, watched the documentary, Bader's documentary on Flow, Bad Cut. And I just posted episode 5, part 1 of Getting the Edge that talks about weight cutting. That's on the VAWA YouTube page. It's on Facebook, and I posted on my Twitter where I talk about weight cutting. And
you also have a book on it, Prebish.
Yeah, but the book is in health and physical education. So I would need to be able to go in, and I need to redo the research.
Yeah.
But
Prebish is freezing up a little bit.
Yeah, it's because I've got I've got the computer going on the
you got a twofer.
guest Wi-Fi set up on my network. Which network I'm actually working. Yeah, okay, I'm on the right network. It does that from time to time.
We can't lose Prebish.
We can't lose
integral.
Yeah.
Goodbye to you and I. We
could be cut.
Expendable.
We could be replaced.
Yes.
But weight cut, Bad Cut was very interesting. Previous, you and I chatted about this the other day, mainly about obviously about the MMA weight cut, just the way it's so stingent on the body. It's obviously a little bit different in the sport of wrestling, where you have multiple weigh-ins throughout the week. At the high school level and at the college level, their weigh-ins are a little bit, not as they don't wrestle as much.
Right.
They don't compete as much. They don't have as many weigh-ins in a week per se. But in like MMA, I mean, some of the stuff they were showing about that with guys dropping 30, 40 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
I think it also becomes down to like coaches, having the knowledge and being able to put their kids in the right path to help them drop a little bit of weight healthily and in the, safest manner possible. My coach, great wrestler, great coach, great guy. Old school though. Hey, make the weight. So I did some bad things and had some bad practices in my weight cuts and, did some really, really dumb stuff. But, obviously I learned about it and, you just try to help your athletes and you try to have them put the right things in their body. And, it's definitely a trial by error. You got to kind of figure out your body and kind of learn about it. But I mean, weight cutting, it's part of the sport, but it definitely is, it gets put in a bad light because so many people do it in the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know,
It's something that I think that we're getting away from. I know, I can't speak for other programs, but really, what we do at St. Chris is we really don't focus on guys cutting a ton of weight. I mean, Jackson Turley, he wrestled 182 his senior year in high school and was chubby, but he focused on technique and getting better. Kevin Short this year, as a 10th grader, Kevin wrestled 126 for us and really struggled every week to make weight. And, his wrestling was kind of shaky. This year, he wrestled 152, didn't have to cut any weight. And he really came on strong at the end of the year. And I think there's something to be said for not leaving it all in the weight cut, and I talk about that in the Getting the Edge episode that I posted today, that, I'm a survivor. I almost died cutting weight because of the stupid things that I did and not healthy. And I don't want any wrestler to have to experience any of that. We had a couple kids this year that really struggled with their weights hard, and doesn't need to be that way. You get to a point like when you're cutting so much weight the wrong way, you hate the sport, you hate everybody around it, you just want it to be over with, and that puts a damper on any chance of potential or success.
we've had a couple seasons at New Kent, Falls can attest, where it's like we focused a lot more on weight cut than we did on
Right.
getting better.
And that's
You
something
know,
that we kind of thought that was a mistake a couple of those years.
Oh, it absolutely is.
and we've worked on those kinks. We've kind of got it down to a little bit more of a rhythm, especially with the way we handle our midweek weigh-ins with bumping some guys up, and Coach Foss knows the
Just
the
try to
weight.
do the
What's up?
formulas where can you weigh on Wednesday if you want to wrestle down on Saturday. Just got to know.
Coach Foss is so good at knowing that stuff, and with him knowing that stuff, it helps kids. Not every kid, because not every kid's as disciplined. Helps kids, know how to balance it out and know where to keep their body, and kind of helps them maintain a little bit better in some aspects.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's kind of funny that you mentioned about like what kids can weigh on a certain way, and we had a potential problem with our state tournament and national preps, that the NWCA program on track wrestling locked everybody's weight out 2 days before the state tournament.
Ooh.
And like,
Wow.
And that would be the weight. Like, so this is like Wednesday, we weigh in Friday. So if on Wednesday your lowest weight class, your lowest weight was 115.1, you can't wrestle at 113 with the +2. So there were a lot of people that I think what happened is a lot of coaches screwed up and didn't do their math correctly, and we're having kids weigh in a little bit heavier. Like, okay, you can weigh this on this day, and wrestle up, but make sure that they didn't double check their math. And we had a couple instances where kids asked to wrestle up, and I spent like a good hour, double checking, triple checking, quadruple checking on track wrestling, because you can enter test weights.
Yeah.
And making sure that, okay, if they weigh in at this, then for the state tournament, they will be able to weigh in at their +2. And
I also see it happens in Virginia. We don't really run into this issue, but in some states they don't even have to ever make scratch.
no.
Oh, that's another thing, is that our formula is different in Virginia. Public school Virginia, it's different than the other public school. It's tighter.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of questionable too, but
Well, I think I think if we wanted to end the issue overall, is that each state wouldn't have, their own guidelines of when they get their +1 or the +2. Because in Pennsylvania they get their +2 after Christmas. National preps get their +2 after Christmas. You guys get +1 and then +2 in what, February?
+1 right before Christmas and +2 right at the end of January.
Yeah. So there's no, and if a public school wrestles a private school, which weight do you use,
Yeah.
and we always like, there's nothing written about what we do. Like we could weigh in at +2 when we wrestle you guys, and it would technically be legal, even though like, if it's in January before you get your second pound, we wouldn't be breaking our weight descent,
No.
but you would only be able to wrestle at +1.
Getting everybody on the same page and on the same formula
Yes.
would be great.
That would make a lot of sense. Like we never have to make scratch weight if we don't want to. If as long as we our lowest wrestling weight class is at +2, we can compete at that weight.
Yeah.
You see it a lot in like PA.
Yeah.
In PA, guys will start the year off 2 weight classes above where they finish.
Yep. Yep.
Anaheim State champ did that.
Yeah, and
God, he wrestled his butt off, by the way.
Yep.
Verclaren from he's at Penn State now. Like his coaches screwed him up in like right before their sectional tournament, and he didn't wrestle his senior year, because they screwed up. Like something happened where he couldn't compete in the individual state tournament series, and he was defending champion.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I remember something. Yeah, I think I remember that, Preebs.
Like he weighed in, like his coaches screwed up what he could weigh in on the second day. I don't exactly know what it was, like, because we only count the first day weigh-in. We never count day 2.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe Pennsylvania's different. But yeah, I think if every state got on the same thing, the same plan, everybody gets their weight at the same time, it's calculated the same way, then we wouldn't have these issues, And I think coaches need to get away from the concept that, like what we grew up with is like, you have to be at your lowest possible weight class to be good. It's just dumb, and we have to find better ways for kids to manage their weight. I talk about it in that episode where, weight management has to be something that's done year round. It's not just something that you do from November to March. That is something that is a part of your life, that if you're planning on going to a lower weight class, you do it safely. You talk to your doctor, you talk to your trainer about, how can I do this by cutting body fat instead of just dehydrating every week? And, it's during the season.
That's
like
the toughest part to do.
Oh yeah, it is. I mean, it takes discipline, and how many high school kids are that disciplined to do it?
Yeah, that's really tough.
And again, like, after a Saturday tournament, you're coming home from the second day of Escape the Rock, you get home and the team wants to go out to eat. Like they binge, so
we get some Philly's cheesesteaks there.
We used to stop in Philly and get cheesesteaks on the way out. But the last year or two, we had a Tuesday dual meet against somebody that we couldn't do it. So, it just takes a lot of discipline. And when I get to part 2, I'm going to talk about the importance of nutrition, like what kids should be eating in terms of their diet. I'm actually going to go in the kitchen and show them my diet, and talk about some supplements, because there are a lot of kids ask me questions about this supplement, that supplement. Is it safe? Is it not? And there's a lot of, there's a lot of crap out there that even with protein, if you don't do your research on the right kind of protein, you're going to be getting stuff that has a lot of fat and a lot of carbs in it. And is that really what you want? No.
You got to read the label.
Yeah, you have to do your research. And talking to the bro at GNC that says this stuff is awesome, it'll kill you.
Yeah.
No. You need to talk to educated professionals, athletic trainers, doctors, nurses.
My rule of thumb for that is if you look at the ingredients and there's a lot of them, you probably don't need it.
And that goes with carbs, especially, as we get older, the more processed carbohydrates that we eat, the longer it's going to take our body to use that, which we won't use, and it's going to wind up being stored, so we gain weight. That's why I don't eat a lot of processed carbs, because I gain weight if I eat a lot of that stuff. So in order to lose weight, we have to have the body turn to body fat. And
processed carbs are the best carbs.
They taste
good carbs.
Yeah, but they don't do our body any good.
Yeah.
And with protein, you have to really do a lot of research. I talk to my kids about whey protein, but making sure that it's whey isolate and it's hard to find 100% whey isolate protein. If you look at the label with something that's 100% whey isolate, if it's got 25 grams of protein per serving, that serving will be 100 calories, and it's just protein. There's no fat, there's no carbs, there's no sugar. It's just pure protein. Anything other than that, you're getting fillers and stuff that's really not going to do you any good. It's a little more expensive. It's hard to find. It really is. So, but I found it. They do have it. The Vitamin Shop is a much, much better place to go for your supplements than GNC, because GNC has the bro factor.
And you might get to see Coach Tanaka when you go to the Vitamin Shop.
Does he work at the Vitamin Shop?
No, isn't that where you were going when you saw him?
Oh yeah. And something that you've been using, you eat a lot of beets, right, Foss?
Yep.
I've started adding beet powder. Like, I don't like beets. It's like beet borscht is just the worst food in the world. It's an ethnically Eastern European dish, Russian cold beet soup, which is just nasty. But they make beet powder, and I've been adding it, number one, to my coffee. Like the beet powder that I have is a little sweet. It kind of tastes like a berry a little bit. So my coffee, like with the creamer and everything, has like a little berry kick to it. And I add it to my post-workout protein shake. And I've noticed that, since I've been doing a lot of bike riding, that I've noticed that the difference in my lung capacity, that like when I started riding, my lungs were burning like, for the first half of the ride at least, like just dying. And now it's like, I can go harder, I can go longer with beet powder, with things like L-arginine, and maca. So anything that helps with the circulation, it helps with endurance activities.
It also has very high fiber.
Yes.
So.
Yes, and I've been eating a lot of popcorn for that. Popcorn helps your poops, guys.
Helps with your digestion.
Absolutely. Well, when you get, when you get to the age that Foss and I are at, you got to have some help.
You need to move things along.
Yes. If you don't, then it
doesn't always go on its own like it's supposed to.
Yes, or it's the one extreme or the other. It's either not coming out or it's coming out way too fast. Yeah. Anyway, so why don't we move on to the quarterfinals? The quarterfinals. All right. And we did have some people vote on Facebook about what they wanted to see. And again, once we get the semifinals going, we'll open it up for votes. So your vote does count. Your vote is going to help with it.
What if we went to the ones if we skip over the ones that are tightly contested right now?
Okay.
Because we have 2 blowouts in the works.
Okay.
All right, what we got?
All right, so right now, Changes is up 5-0 on Fires Highway.
I mean, and it's gonna be 6-0 with my vote. I mean, that's just
Changes is literally taking a head inside single, chasing a backside, transition to a leg lace. Whoop whoop whoop. Whoop.
Okay, to put it in Greco terms, it's a arm drag to a body lock. Guy bails, and we just gut. It's done. It's just done.
Yeah, I think we're going to be 8-0 on this, aren't we?
Oh, so it's a Greco Tech fall.
Ooh.
Yes, it is. Oh, put it on the board. Yes.
All right.
I like the Greco Tech fall. I like how you worked that in there, Preebs.
So that's a 4 over an unseeded.
Yeah.
So 4 Changes gets to the semis.
That's because Japan Droids, like, great song.
They're not well known. They don't really have like a.
Japan Droids did have an upset in round 1, I think, right?
They did, but we were the ones voting.
Yeah.
So
well, we're the ones that matter, Foss.
Yeah, they beat Bomb Track, which is I mean, I thought for sure Bomb Track would blow through them, but
we decided on no on that.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll tell you what, Bomb Track is wrestling back through the console, so
Yeah, he's making an effort.
It's
Yeah.
it's making some people very upset.
Oh no, we're gonna do reportage. You have to make
You can follow the leader. All right.
so they're done. They're out.
Damn.
That's tough. That's
All right,
tough.
what was the other potential blowout?
So the other blowout is understanding a car crash, and only the young. Only the young, 5-0.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. 8-0.
Again.
Loud and Swain running over the bridge with the sauna suit on.
We're gonna go with the folk
What's the
style approach
backpack
here
suit
for
on?
only the young.
What's that?
A folk style approach for the only the young right now. A little bit more old school. I'm thinking like a double to a Turk to the fall.
All right.
Only the young is take him down, cut him, take him down, cut him. It's 30 to 15.
Oh Jesus!
Oh wow.
It's a 30 to 15.
That's embarrassing.
Yes, that's embarrassing. Yeah, only the young.
Can the kid work on top, Prebish? Let the kid work on top.
Cradle him up.
No, he ain't cradling him up. No, he's going head outside all day.
Only the young has the cross face in. He just needs to walk it down.
It's an aggressive cut. Only young stuffing poor Thursday's head into the mat.
He's pushing him into the scores table.
Mat return, hard mat return, then release.
He's not even mat
Jim
return.
Harshaw.
He's hitting the high crotch, doubling off, getting the Turk, letting the belly down, and then he's just smashing the face,
Yep.
coming around front, and just getting in his face. And as soon as he stands up, boom, he's back in on that double.
Yep.
Sorry.
Only the young bullies pushes the poor kid into the mat side cheerleaders.
Yes.
All right, that was our 2 seed. So if you're keeping score at home, the 2 of you that are watching.
Again, didn't Thursday had an upset too, right? Was Thursday an upset?
No, they were the 7th seed. They beat Sandstorm. It might
well, that's
call it an
legit.
upset.
Yeah.
Legit.
Oh, they beat Sandstorm, right?
What's that? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been there for years. Mama said knock you out reference, by the way.
I was gonna knock you.
Don't call it a comeback. Yeah.
Don't call it a comeback. Did you ever see the unplugged version of that song? That's classic.
That's probably pretty good.
It is.
The Roots, Jimmy Fallon's house band, the Roots.
Yeah, they do the same thing.
Yeah, the Roots are great. They're all from around Philly,
Oh.
and some of them went to Millersville.
Oh.
Yeah.
Even better. They ate at that. What's that pizza place?
The House of Pie.
The House of Pie. Yeah.
Oh God, many a night.
They're probably the house band at the House of Pie.
No, there's no room at the House of Pie.
So the next one that's we have Lunatic Fringe has 4 votes. Enter Sandman has Enter Sandman has 2.
Okay.
So 4-2.
All right, I'm going Enter Sandman.
Okay, so
Going
now
Enter
4-3.
Sandman. I know this is kind of just sticking the seeds here, but you got to think about it. Enter Sandman, it builds. You're hand fighting the whole time. You're getting a pull, you're snapping, you're getting the guy reacting, and then you're running through him. You're running through him. You're riding tough on top that whole time. Probably getting a turn. Right? Might even transition to a fall here. Let's be honest with you. Lunatic Fringe, great song. Great track. One of my votes. But I'm going to say Enter Sandman gets its hand raised here. I disagree with the people, the 6 people that voted or whatever it was.
It was 6. 4-2.
I disagree with
Nice
them.
Manchester Matt. Good job.
Who are you going with, Foss?
This is a tough one for me.
I know.
They're so good. Boy,
Black Album, Foss. Black Album.
I really like the Sandman song. I really like the Lunatic Fringe song. It's when he opens up, he's doing, for some reason, before the match, Loud and Swain is doing freaking, like, why would you do like maybe based on that, I'm going to answer Sandman. Because of all the exercises to do before a match, I'm probably not doing lat pull downs.
Lunatic, you got to think about it. Lunatic Fringe is teaching bad habits.
That's probably not going to happen.
Bad habits. Bad warm-up practice.
Hell of a song, then. Yeah, why that pull downs? Really?
And
What
his
the hell you
Sandman's
doing?
not teaching you that, buddy.
And if you think about it, the moment where Loudon Swain wins the match, okay, he's on bottom. He stands up, and does he turn the right direction when he's cutting away? No, he turns right into Brian's shoes. Okay.
Oh, that would have been a cradle.
So he's here. He's rolling the video here. So
Oh,
he stands up, and instead of cutting away, he turns in.
Yep, and
Oh,
digs
he's
his
going right
overhook
back.
in.
Yeah, and Shoot's supposed to be this freaking monster 2-time state champion, and he lets this guy stand up and turn into him.
He was gassing Prebish. Had him been pushed. Had him been pushed.
Not Shoot. The guy's freaking a monster. Did you see him with the thing on his back climbing up the stairway?
I'm telling you,
freaking kidding
get-
me? I'm
get
going
the Vision
freaking
Quest.
Sandman.
What I'm saying is two things. Loudon Swain turning the wrong direction, okay? That's bad enough. But it's Loudon Swain. He's trying to make his mark. So he's not on Shoot's level. If Shoot is supposed to be this stud 2-time state champion ultimate guy, and a guy cuts the wrong way on a stand-up, and he just stands there and gets hip tossed?
No.
I was going to swear.
Yes. So I'm going Sandman, Previous. Where are you going?
Because of the technical flaws in Brian Shoot's wrestling, I got to go with Enter Sandman.
Okay. So Sandman pulls it off. That was the number 3 seed.
But I would say it went to sudden victory. It went to over.
Yeah. That was.
I appreciate
right
that.
out.
On a side note, I listened to this podcast called The Rewatchables. It's like they rewatch movies and they break it down and like about like actors and like they break down Vision Quest. Look it up. Rewatchables Vision Quest on Spotify. It's worth it. And I love that podcast. I listen to a lot of them, but the one on Vision Quest is class. It's so funny.
He trained with Matthew Modine, who was Loudon Swain, trained with Gable. But it was just like a couple weeks. Like they tried.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, Frank Jasper actually wrestled.
Yeah.
Shoot, he was actually a wrestler. He actually competed. And then the guy that played he beats him out for the spot.
Cooch.
Oh yeah.
Cooch. Yeah, Cooch. Cooch actually wrestled too. He competed.
Cooch was in 16 Candles. He played
Oh.
Former scrapper though, previous former scrapper.
Jake Ryan though, so that clouds my view of
And
him.
there it is.
Yes.
All right, here we go. 1 versus 9.
Okay.
1 is facing a very huge challenge here. You have Welcome to the Jungle versus Thunderstruck. AC/DC. A 1 versus 9. Who wants to go first, or shall I?
Go ahead.
You go first here, Fossey.
So it's going to come down to you two because I am Welcome to the Jungle. I'm going to have to go chalk. Again, it's a song that we actually used as a walk-in song a while ago, a long time ago, probably more than 10 years ago on the wrestling team. I told you guys the story off air about that, about a coach, the opposing coach tried to pump up his team by saying, they're even listening to Welcome to the Jungle. And we proceeded to still beat the crap out of them when we weren't as good as we are now. So I'm going to have to go Welcome to the Jungle because it reminds me of a good story about a good coach that we used to wrestle.
All right. Personally, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I'm not an AC/DC guy. I never have been, never will. But I'm going to throw a little curveball in here. Okay? Because I think of some of the athletes that we've had come through. I see them getting more into Thunderstruck than they do Welcome to the Jungle.
Yes, but where were they? They know this is going on. They should have voted.
Like you got to think about Caden Darber.
Yeah.
Darber loved AC/DC.
We should have asked them. Personally. Hey, where you at on this?
So I'm gonna go AC/DC here, and it hurts.
Ooh,
And it hurts. I'm not an AC guy. If I'm thinking from a wrestling standpoint, I'd rather wrestle to that song.
Okay.
They both have really, really good openings. just the opening riff on Welcome to the Jungle is pretty badass. But the way that Thunderstruck opens, I think is really, really powerful. I mean, this is a knockdown slugfest. We're talking like, a 20-19 match here that they're freaking going back and forth. Like they're down by 4 or 5 and just freaking throwing the kitchen sink out there,
Crowds into it.
Oh my God. It's a huge, it's just, I'm going with Thunderstruck because there's something about that song. Yes, I'm going with Thunderstruck.
The upset is done.
The upset is done. Thunderstruck for me is one of those songs that when I hear it kick on, it just makes me want to go out there. And it hypes me up so much that I want to go out there and just rip somebody's head off. That it's that strong. And I can listen to it 100 times, and it just when the drums really start kicking in and it really starts picking up tempo, it just freaking gets me. I get goosebumps. So
Thunderstruck pulls the upset.
Yep.
And joins Changes in the semifinals. So that was 5-4. That was close. Can't get any closer than that. Good buddy.
Nah.
I
like it, boys.
So, Prebish, I guess we can post the semifinals and see what people say on next time.
Yeah, people need to vote. I'll do that once we finish this thing off. I mean, that's pretty much what we got tonight. So there it is. The bracket for the semifinals is set.
Yes.
I like the upset up top. I'm being honest with you. It kind of fires me up a little bit.
Too bad we can't freaking zoom the camera, so I don't
That's
have to
impressive.
Physically do this.
Somebody just got nauseous.
It's like the dream sequence from Wayne's World.
So with that, guys, that's about all we have for tonight. So we will post those semifinal matchups on our Facebook page.
I'm glad it's getting dark on the veranda.
Yeah. You look like Phil Collins in the air tonight.
I'm okay with that.
Cast your votes. Let us know. Give us a little breakdown from a wrestling approach. I enjoy doing that. I think that makes it a little bit fun.
Yes.
All right.
So what are we going to go out to tonight?
God gave rock and roll.
We should do a Phil Collins song.
Oh.
You brought him up.
I'm not with the Phil Collins track.
Easy Lover.
Easy Lover.
That's awesome.
It is.
That's got the Earth, Wind, and Fire guy, Prebish.
Yeah. Philip Bailey. So here we go. This is for you, Foss.
Look how happy Foss is.
True story. This is Cooper and I. When we retire, we're gonna try to get Phil Bailey to come and play at our retirement party. True. He ain't doing nothing.
The heck of a drummer. Hey, for those few people that watched us, this was Talkin' Wrestling. It's been great. Make sure that you vote for your semifinals. Who do you want to see in the finals? We need your input, ladies and gentlemen, and we will see you 1 week from tonight at the Jump of